Good morning and welcome to Round Glass. And to me, my name is Vishvapani Blomfield. And thank you so much for joining me for the third session on this series, Engaging Imagination, how we can use our imagination to really give another texture to our meditation practice. In today's practice, we'll be exploring how we can have a deeper sense of ourselves using the image of a tree. So have you ever noticed how busy our minds tend to be? I'd really like to hear from you about that, just about your experience. So please feel free to share in the chat. This is a live session and let's interact. Today, we're going to be working on settling the mind, using the imagination. And I'm going to be talking about a tree, and this is quite personal. When I moved into my house, I was really delighted that it had this large garden, big garden that was nondescript lawn. So I got the gardening bug. I started shaping the space and planting things. Now, meanwhile, at the end of the garden, behind my house, is this large ash tree, a big ash tree, maybe 30 meters tall. It fills the sky, it shades a lot of the garden. And when I dig down, I sometimes encounter these massive roots. And of course the roots deplete the soil of the nutrients that the other plants, all the things I was planting, need to flourish themselves. So what happened? I found myself resenting the tree for hampering, because it was hampering my gardening. So, tree was now my enemy. But then notice all the birds living in the tree, perching on the branches, building their nests. And gradually, as I got to know my space and I got to know the tree, I started to see that it wasn't just a plant, it's a home. And looking at it more fully, seeing it more fully, I could really start to sense that this tree was alive. It's this grand living being. So then I slowed down. I had to slow down to really look at the tree, and gradually I started to see all of its characteristics, how it grows towards the sun, the scars on the bark where branches have dropped, and how it changes through the seasons. So right now, for example, the branches are all filling with grown leaves and they're beautiful, fresh apple green. And then there's a breeze. There was a breeze today and the leaves were swaying in the breeze and the branches were moving. So I love this tree now. I can't quite believe I never noticed it properly, or that I resented it. I resented it for shading my garden. Yeah, what was I thinking? Now, that ash tree now is more beautiful to me than anything I can buy from a garden centre. So this tree, or a tree, the tree that we imagine, will be the focus for our meditation. You know, even in a city, trees are all around us. They're beautiful, but they're also symbolic. There's powerful ancient symbol. And so that's what we'll be engaging with in the meditation today. So think about the qualities of a tree. A tree grows up from roots that are sunk right deep into the soil. And then it rises up into the air through this sturdy trunk. It's upright, but it's not static. It moves in the wind, and that is an image for how we sit in meditation. So, rooted and grounded, right? As if we're drawing nourishment up from the earth, but also stable and alert, yeah, like a tree growing towards the sun. So we'll be using the image of the tree in the meditation and using it as a way to contact these qualities in our bodies and in our minds. And when we use an image like this, it's about exploring or playing. We're engaging the imagination. So just let yourself play with imagining yourself as a tree, like a child might. And notice what it feels like. At the same time, as we have the image, keep coming back to what's present for you. So we're grounding our awareness by feeling the body. Okay? Now that's the practice we'll be doing, and if any questions come up for you, please do ask them in the chat. I'll do my best to ask them when we're finishing. When we finish. So we want to be comfortable, but oh, I see there are some things from the chat already. Yeah, I see that someone has said, right, your mind is racing the minute you sit down, you lie down to sleep. So you're open to quietening the mind. Other people saying minds are scattered or going, bouncing. Okay, so that's what I've been talking about, right? The way that our minds are so busy. And yeah, so that's a really good question to start the meditation with. How can I connect this busy mind with something that's more stable? So we'll be using the tree to do that. Okay, so so feeling the body. Okay, feeling, connecting to the body. This is where we start. Maybe take a breath. Deep breath. Breathe out. Maybe have a sense of letting go as you breathe out. So you may want to close your eyes. I generally recommend that, but if it doesn't feel comfortable, that's fine. Just rest your eyes and perhaps decide how you're going to relate to the screen. You can turn away from the screen if you want. So we're feeling the body, we're feeling the connection at the feet, wherever the body is touching the floor or your chair or perhaps your bed. Wherever it is that you are as we do this practice. So settling in, taking your time, connecting, and the way we connect is just sensing, being alive to our senses, alive to the contact of the body with what's underneath us, where the body rests, where the body lies. So we settle down, feeling, sensing the touch, the contact, and noticing the breath. Feeling the body as it rests, as it settles, feeling the body as a whole. So as we settle, just noticing our emotional state. It's okay just to have a very general sense now. So the weather changes, at least it changes where I live. What's the weather like inside? Is it bright and sunny? Is it dull and overcast? Is it cloudy? Is there a storm brewing? So what's the internal weather? So as we sense the body resting on the floor, it's feeling that contact. You can imagine that there are roots growing down from your feet, maybe your heels, perhaps your knees, growing down into the earth. We're sitting on a floor, then the floor rests on foundations, and the foundations are sunk into the earth. So the roots grow down from our body. And they spread out into the earth as if we're absorbing nutrients. We're drawing strength up from the earth. As if through roots. And that's a source of strength, source of nourishment. So just breathing, resting, settling, starting to have a sense of the tree. Maybe imagining a tree, sensing a tree. Perhaps it's a particular tree. A tree you can visualize. A tree you know, perhaps. Or it could be a tree you imagine. And any kind of tree is good, whether it's a great redwood tree or a much more modest tree in a garden. And sensing how the tree sends its roots into the earth. A source of strength, of nourishment, energy, of life. And then the trunk of the tree rises up. So we feel the body rising up from the feet, sensing the legs, the torso, the shoulders. And the spine is like the trunk of a tree. So rising through the body, feeling the whole length of the spine, all the way along the neck, and we can maybe sense that the neck is just being drawn upwards. So we feel the whole height of the body. And this is the tree trunk. Let's just imagine the tree trunk, the bark with its texture, its colour, and the whole girth and breadth and strength, the solidity of the trunk. So the tree trunk rises up and the body rises up, rising from the earth, alive, like a tree. So the trees, from the trunk, branches spread out. spreading in all directions, and the limbs are like those branches. The fingers are like twigs. And the branches spread into the sky. They rise into sky, spreading into space. And the leaves open to the sun. So the leaves are green. They're rich green. They're green so they can feed on sunlight. A tree bathes in light, feeds on light, grows towards the light. Sensing as the body rises up, we're nourished by the air around us. So feeling the breath, sensing the breath, moving the body. The body isn't still, just as a tree isn't still. A tree sways in the breeze. The body moves with the breath. So staying grounded, feet on the floor. Roots spreading down. So let's just stay with this image of the body as a tree. So thoughts may come, just as the wind ruffles the leaves. And of course, we're drawn to our thoughts, but we stay centered, we stay stable. Just by feeling the body, feeling the breath, and staying with this image of the tree. Resting, settling, breathing. Can you sense this tree? Can we sense the body like a tree? Sensing the roots going deep into the earth. Drawing up moisture, nutrients, drawing strength. Rooted and grounded. Feeling the body rising up from the earth like the trunk of a tree. alert and direct. Sensing the body rising up like a tree rising into the air, branches swaying in the wind. Breathing, moving with the breath. Alive, awake, with the dignity and beauty of a tree. So now we'll start to make a transition. Letting the image of the tree start to dissolve, fade, dissolving into the body, allowing us to rest with the breathing. Starting to shift our awareness to the external senses. Maybe moving our fingers a little, perhaps rolling our shoulders. Just taking a few moments to absorb the practice. Just noticing how it felt, reflecting on how it felt. So remember that images need space. Need space for their significance to emerge. It's not about working it out or understanding it. It's asking it, how was it to imagine the body as a tree? How was it to engage with an image? So an image is a way, using an image in this way, can help us contact the qualities it evokes. And the qualities of the tree that I was drawing out were its connection to the earth, its strength and stability, its height and openness. And the images, these are important qualities in our lives. And the image helps because it speaks to the imagination. So maybe you connected with one aspect of the practice or another. You know, the roots growing down, the trunk rising up, the aliveness of the tree. Or maybe the connection of the sun, the idea that the tree feeds on sunlight. Yeah, so if you have any reflections like that, it'd be lovely to hear from you, to have that sense of connection as we do this practice, as we explore meditation, explore the imagination. Watching my ash tree over the course of the year, I see or the new growth of spring, the falling leaves in autumn, the bare branches in winter. I pile up the leaves and then I wait for them to become compost, which takes quite a long time. But eventually the compost is ready to feed the other plants or sink back into the soil. So a tree is alive in time, in the seasons, and the same seasons affect me. And reflecting in that way, I feel a deeper connection between myself and the tree. The tree is alive, so am I. And actually, we're getting older together. We share the same soil, we share the same air. So, yeah, I'm just interested in your questions. So one area to reflect on is how we can stay centered in meditation. And that's important because our lives are probably quite busy and we have many, many thoughts and they will take us away. So we need to find something that will center us, and it needs to engage us. It needs to be interesting. It needs to touch our feelings and emotions, which is why we're exploring images, because images have got more of an emotional or an imaginative quality to them. So that's why, sensing the body as a tree or a mountain or something like that is always a helpful thing to do when you start a practice, especially if you've got that kind of imagination, that kind of mind. It adds something over and above just feeling the sensations. So then that is something we can come back to. When our thoughts wander, the image will call us back. And our thoughts will draw us away, but the image will call us back. So just finding the right image for you. It might be a tree, and we're going through different images. So yes, there's a question from the chat: why do we choose visualization? I mean, this isn't the only way to meditate, but some people are more visually minded, and some people, as I've been saying, respond to images. But it's important to use the image to help us stay in the present moment, not to take us somewhere else. If you want an image for what this practice is aiming at, then well, perhaps we could think of the image of a Buddha. Now, often you see Buddha images, in this seated posture, don't you? And if you see them depicted more fully, you might see that Buddha seated beneath a tree. It's called a Bodhi tree, and the tree spreads out above the Buddha as if it's protecting him, sheltering him, and it's almost as if they're the same organism. So he's seated beneath the spreading tree, and in his meditation practice, think of that image of the Buddha seated so quietly. Well, he's opening to life. He's opening to the life that the tree expresses in all of its very profound mystery. So, thank you for joining me. Please follow me on my profile to practice this session again. See when I'm going to be live next, which will be next week. Have a good day, and remember the tree. Remember to stay rooted. Whatever life brings, remember that the earth is beneath us, the sky is above us, and the trees don't worry about all the different things that happen in the course of a day.